welcome to episode number 107 of Daily Global Insights. Today is the 26th of February. I am joined by Sridhar Chityalaji. Sridharji, namaskaram and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskar, good morning to everybody, and we are on a wonderful Friday as we close out the week.
Yes, indeed. And the main points in today's bulletin: China applied COVID-19 anal swab tests to US diplomats who were arriving in the Chinese territory. This happened on the 24th and 25th of February. And the State Department has issued a clarification that these were done in error. The GOP Congressmen are urging United States to boycott 2022 Winter Olympics Games in Beijing. India-Pakistan militaries agreed to stop cross-border firing in a rare joint statement. UK to move alerts level down as hospitalizations fall. US stocks fall sharply as an outsized bond yields spook investors. Sridharji, let's take a quick look at the first line item. Some US diplomats were arriving in China, and instead of taking their saliva or some other form of test, the Chinese immigration authorities insisted that they take anal swab tests. Is that what happened, sir?
Well, the truth is that the anal tests were applied to these diplomats, which the diplomats subsequently objected to and complained to the State Department. The State Department obviously took up the matter with the Foreign Affairs in China, and they agreed that this was an error on their part, which they genuinely apologized, quote unquote, and they said that these tests were far more effective relative to saliva or nasal tests. But the US diplomats and the State Department never agreed. But this is a big news item within the context of, this is the way, there's a good American slang for this, but which we won't say here, right? So this is what they did.
So, in other news, 5 Oregon counties vote on leaving the state and would like to merge with Greater Idaho State, which is a neighboring state. The initiative to move swaths of largely rural eastern and southern Idaho into Idaho qualified for May 18 special election ballots. The counties are Baker, Grant, Lake, Malheur, and Sherman. Sridharji, what do you make of this, sir? Do you think that some of the Oregonians are not happy about the laws being passed in their state?
I think that there are 3 things. That first and foremost, the laws. The second is the law and order that is prevalent in Oregon. And I think the third is, the voice of dissent is never heard. It is dismissive. So it's a cultural and political kind of disengagement or disassociation that the rural population of these 5 counties, find themselves in. Within the state, there's an opportunity to collect enough signatures, and they have collected the signatures, and it qualifies for the ballot, and then they are aligning themselves with the rural. It becomes part of the Greater Idaho. These 5 rural counties. Now, what it is, this is kind of setting probably the trend which we have seen in some of the battleground states, which we have seen in some of the red states, that there is the laws that are being passed in House and Senate, most notably House-led laws, and the rate at which these are getting passed without, the representatives talking to, the specific constituencies, is causing a great alarm to some of the red states. And what you see is this. But the flip side is the Democrats would argue, look, we have been talking about, these are our kind of core principles. We have been speaking about this. We have the political capital. We have the mandates. We are moving forward. So that's where we are.
So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. And if these counties become part of Idaho, then in that case, will the balance of the structure of the number of electoral delegates that will be coming out of Idaho and Oregon would get adjusted, and if so, how? We'll have to wait and see. But certainly, this is a message to the political parties of United States. Moving on to confirmations, former Michigan governor is confirmed by the Senate as Energy Secretary. The controversial Xavier Becerra, the health secretary nominee, declined to name any abortion restrictions that he would support. Biden's trade pick Catherine Tai describes China regime as both partner and rival. So these are three of the people who are going through the nomination process. In together, spoken together, how do you see the whole process working? Is this par for the course for other presidents, or is there more? Are there more headwinds this time around?
Well, I think that the critical positions or critical posts have already, one after the other, they've got confirmed. State is confirmed, state secretary is confirmed, treasury secretary is confirmed, the defense secretary is confirmed, the homeland security is confirmed, intelligence is confirmed, interior is the one where we're having some difficulties, but will be confirmed. Then the OMB is the one which has got a stalemate. I think the HHS, Department of Home and Health Secretary, which is Mr. Xavier Becerra, this could be a tough ride because he's very controversial, especially around this very diversified or very divisive issue around abortions. Both Republicans and Democrats are on opposite sides of the fence in terms of pro-life versus pro-choice. So therefore, I think this would be, some challenge in this. But as you can see, quite a few of these things are kind of getting through fairly quickly. Another person who is very influential is Catherine Tai, right? You can see from the name that there is a proximity, and she has served in China as well, if I'm correct. And she's saying China as both a partner and rival. She refused to concede, whereas most of the others have looked at China as a potential threat and even competitive. Whereas she has taken this type of a position. It remains to be seen whether this is going to be another, a red flag.
In other news, GOP congressmen urge the United States to boycott 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics. Now, this has come from the from the Republicans. So, do you think they might be able to draw some political capital out of this for the 2022 election, sir?
They certainly would. They certainly would. I think many of the policies that the GOP senators are taking a very strong position now. Initially, they had, they were sitting on the fence, whether you are a pro-Trump supporter or anti-Trump supporter. Once those issues have been put to rest, it seems like it's been put to rest. Now you can see more and more policy differences people be raising the red flag on the floor of the House and the Senate. This clearly is a problem. Yesterday or day before, we reported that UK says that it's not going to boycott Winter Olympics. China says it is going to boycott the Winter Olympics. I mean, United States GOP, at least is taking a position that it would want US to boycott the Olympics.
Trump's tax returns have been obtained by Manhattan District Attorney. I mean, we all know that he had been very good with his taxes, that he didn't pay any taxes. And this has been going on for several years now. What do you think they're going to find new in this?
Well, they're going to say he has very successfully drained the system. You bankrupt, buy back, you bankrupt, you restructure, buy back, etc. In the process, you have earned zillions and billions of dollars, and you've used a legal way basically not to pay. So they're going to make him an example of, this is legal, but morally, this guy cannot be the president of the United States, etc. And if there is some loophole, where he has violated something, which is all possible in these kinds of restructuring that goes on, they will apply the appropriate punishment. The district attorney of Manhattan is quite notorious. You can see very popular kind of cases that get prosecuted by the Manhattan district attorney. So I think they have this Trump there is no love lost between Trump and the Democratic party leadership in New York. That's why he has apartments in Manhattan. He has a home in Manhattan, but he lives all the time in Florida.
Well, we will wait and see how that plays out. Speaker Nancy Pelosi vows to pass minimum wage bill. How realistic is this ambition, sir?
Yeah, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. She has got the votes. They're going to do it. They're going to do it. And I don't know, 1.5, 1.6, 2 million jobs going to be out. I think that she's basically saying, I'm going to do it. See, there is nothing, they are so adamant. I can tell you this. I mean, my own inference from this is not Biden, because Biden historically has not taken such. This is Obama working behind the scenes. Though it is very hard to prove, but if you see his election campaigns, which he did for Biden, if you see some of his appeals that he made, and if you see some of the stuff that is coming out of him, is almost like running a third term. It's almost like I did not finish my agenda in the first two terms. Now I'm running my third term. I got Joe there, who was my deputy anyway in my first two terms. That's what you're saying.
Leaked emails confirm that the United Nations gave names of dissidents to the Chinese Communist Party before they were to testify in a human rights, convention that took place in Geneva. Sir, this is alarming news. Why would the UN do that?
Oh, well, because UN, I mean, we have stated this, and which people may not agree. United Nations, WHO, Human Rights Council, all these organizations, are part and parcel of the Chinese architecture. The extent of compromise is profound. In the headlines, just to add the adjacent part, that the information they knew was deliberately withheld from the WHO, withheld the COVID information, the emails and other things. Now, you have this issue, which is people leaking the names of the dissidents before they were making their case in the Geneva Human Rights Convention. That's a very serious kind of a lapse. But can you enforce? No. Can you enforce anything on China? No. I think we have talked about this. But it's a very sad state of affairs in terms of if this is what these global organizations are about, it raises the fundamental integrity of these organizations. The only reason they exist is because of political posturing, and many people enjoy their lives and livelihood because of these organizations, which have not achieved in the recent past, have not achieved. I think before the show, we were talking about organizations transforming themselves to the needs. We have innovation and disruption transforming industries and businesses. United Nations, WHO, IMF, World Bank, all created, post World War II, or between World War I and World War II, but mostly post World War II. Have they changed? Have they assessed themselves and changed what changes they need to bring about? The answer is no.
Sri Kajamukam Chelliah, a Sri Lankan Canadian, worked with other smugglers to bring at least 6 Sri Lankan nationals into the United States illegally, according to the Department of Justice. He also pleaded guilty to smuggling Sri Lankans into Canada via the United States in 2019. So this human trafficking racket has been around for a while, but now we are beginning to see these cases, perhaps because of the 100-day stay that the Supreme Court has provided. Is that true, sir, or there's no relation?
No, I think that they are receiving wide attention because this would have been a normal course of business. This case was launched in 2019. Just now, the verdict was announced. I think yesterday or today, the verdict was announced. Now, why it's being highlighted? It's being highlighted in today's context. If Biden's rules prevail, past the SCOTUS moratorium, or stay, then this is not illegal. So it's legal because he's come in and they are settled here, life goes on. Whether they were for the purpose of trafficking, other types of illegal operations, doesn't matter. We welcome everybody. By the way, we are also going to give small business loans to ex-felons. So why not this?
In other news, India unveils tougher rules for social media giants such as Facebook and Twitter. And one of the things, there is a very detailed article about what is going to change or what the government wants the social media companies to adhere to is in an article on pgurus.com. Please do read that article. We will try to include that link also in this YouTube. The most important thing there is that all these companies are required to provide the first originator of what could be deemed as a fake tweet or a fake news item down the road. Now, viewers, you may or may not have heard of our initiative called VAD, VAAD. In fact, the next version of VAD is going to have this feature. We've been working at this for close to 4 months now. We've already tested it out, and this is one of the most fundamental things for which we have been waiting. At least I have been waiting before I release it to the public, because so this is coincidental that what I foresaw as a definite need to combat fake news is now going to become a requirement by the Indian government. We hope that the rest of the world will also follow suit, because then all these fake narratives will be stopped dead on their tracks. So wait and watch. We will keep you posted on this. Is there anything you would like to add to that, sir?
I think there's only one little piece of information that I would add, which is the immunity measures that they enjoyed thus far is gone.
Yes, that is true. That is true too. In other news, boosting India's export competitiveness turnaround at major ports fall in the last 6 years. So there has been a general decline in terms of India's export competitiveness at the major ports. And I hope that the Modi government will try and take steps to turn this around. Certainly, Nitin Gadkari has been at work very hard trying to do some things. What are your thoughts on that, sir?
Well, I think the way I'm looking at this is that um, slightly differently, which is they have um, they have reduced the turnaround time. Whether the press is misquoting, I don't know, but number of ports have been redeveloped. So the competitiveness, to some extent, in terms of the turnaround times, they have improved in preparedness for the exports and imports, because port development was one of the neglected areas. So this is how I read it, but they're not there as yet, and they're moving the thing forward. Now, I always go back to the data because I'm not close to micro level engagement that happens within India. But when I look at the import exports, it's now close to $1 trillion. It's about 450, 490, 450 or $460 billion is the exports, and around 445 or 446 is the imports. India is a net exporter by about $6 or $7 billion. That is a big number. There's almost 1/3 of the Indian economy is around the export import. So therefore, they really need to get this thing in place if they need to make this like an exports to be $1 trillion out of the $5 trillion business, which is roughly the 20% of the GDP of the country. So my reading of this is that they've done, but they have to do a lot more, in the next 3-4 years as they move towards. The predictions are by 2026, India will be a $5 trillion economy. Original target was before 2025, but this contraction did not help. That's how I read it, sir.
We will give you more clarifications in the days to come. United Kingdom has imposed new sanctions on Myanmar. We will also give you updates on that. Let's take a quick look at global COVID. The global cases have risen to 112.5 million, with the death toll at close to 2.5 million. And in local cases, in the area around where I live, the color, that is the rating of the COVID, has been brought down by one level, which means that from very critical, we are down to critical. And this perhaps means that there is a general belief that this is now going down. So we'll have to wait and see how this plays out. In other news, there is a new CCP virus strain that seems to be spreading very fast in New York City. Anything to add on that, Sridharji?
No, I think that we are the first epicenter in the United States, so that's all I can say. We just have to be careful, and until we were the leaders first, as we kicked off the coronavirus, and then we were generous enough to pass it on first to Florida, and then they reduced it, and now it is California, and California, Texas, have very high kind of cases. But anyway, so I think that yeah, anything that we seem to be one of the first people because of the volume and also the ethnographic mix of the population here.
And finally, on markets, today the markets had a down day. Sridharji, perhaps you can explain it quickly and then we can call it a wrap.
I think the markets witnessed what you call as a big down day. We lost about close to 560 points on the Dow, and almost close to 100 points in S&P. And the primary driver of this is that the markets have been reading this very, very closely. It's what we call as the unusual rise in the bond yields. The bond yields are now today close to 1.6%. Now we usually, we give graphs. Maybe next, we'll put this graph up. If you see the graph, which is what we call as on one trajectory, on one side you put the S&P dividend yield, and then on the other side you put the Treasury bond yields. You find that these things are now going the opposite way. So there was a wide gap between the S&P yield and the Treasury bond yield being lower. So that is the gap. Today you find that the S&P yield is coming close to about 1.55, and whereas the bond yields are just crossing 1.6. That's an indication that there could be a shift that will occur to income generating assets. So therefore, people may dump some of the what you call as the growth stocks and shift their way to the value stocks, and then you may see part of the portfolio diversified into bonds. This is what people have been apprehensive about in terms of putting more stimulus into the hands of the people, whether we're going to have excess liquidity and as a result cause aberrations in the market. If you recall, Jerome Powell, the Fed governor, did not talk anything about the rising bond yields. And if you recall, around the same time, we are 1.33% last year, and we are now around 1.6% at this point, and we had dipped to 0.64% around April on the eve of the COVID epidemic taking roots in the United States. So this is something that we have to watch, and this is reflected also in the oil prices. Oil prices are now around 63 kind of dollars, 63. That has also rapidly risen. We have tracked it from almost $25 to today we are around 63 plus dollars. All this implies, and Mitch McConnell made a very profound statement, the consumer savings is at an all-time high and they are stacked up, which is roughly around 14-15% of the disposable income of the consumers. So why are we giving another stimulus that is targeted at the universe of the entire, rather than focusing and reducing it and focusing on very specific segments which need this? Like what you pointed out, the small businesses which are less than 20, which were hampered by prior stimuluses, but which do need help, one can give. Similarly, those people who were under the what you call neglected segment of the society, which is that 9 million number that the Democrats point out. But they've also added this 12 million illegal to this. So direct the cash if you want around, but don't keep giving cash when people really don't need cash at this, and add to the debt of the balance sheet of the government. I think that's the message.
Thank you very much, sir. And viewers, have a great weekend. Don't forget to subscribe to PGurus channel and also join our membership channel, membership program and PGurus channel. We look forward to having you there. We will be giving you more bonus features. And we are very excited that this program has taken off very well. We are growing fast now. And again, it's a pleasure to have you on our channel, Sridhar ji. And here is hoping that we're going to have a great weekend and we will be back first thing in the morning on Monday. Namaskar.
Namaskar, and have a wonderful weekend. When you come back, we'll have more confirmations and much more, important news on the confirmation side.
Thank you, sir.